G'day, I'm Ian Swain, and welcome to another G'day with Ian Swain. What's it like living, working next to one of nature's wonders of the world? Well, today we're going to find out, as my guest is the manager of Victoria Falls River Lodge, located just upstream of the Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. From your suite, you see the spray rising up into the African sky. With a selection of tented camps, Island Treehouse suites, Victoria Falls River Lodge offers unique experiences for your guests. So let me introduce Roddy Meiring from Victoria Falls River Lodge. G'day, Roddy.
How are you doing, Ian?
Doing well, mate, doing well. You've got a beautiful backdrop there, and I assume that's the Zambezi River right behind you.
Indeed, that is the mighty Zambezi. Lovely, lovely day here, as you can see.
It's beautiful, yeah. Well, I mentioned the lodge is close to the falls. Just how far is the lodge from Victoria Falls?
So, we're located in the heart of the national park, and basically by boat down to Victoria Falls is about 15 minutes drive, or by vehicle. Obviously, when you're going to see the falls, that's when you'll leave by vehicle, and that's about a 30-minute drive. So, all in all, very close to the town itself and Victoria Falls, but away from the hustle and the bustle and the noisy parts that do take part in the town. So, as I said, slightly upstream, but not far away at all, with Mother Nature all around us.
That's perfect. So to me, that shows the benefits of being close enough that you can easily take that day trip down to the falls, but far enough to feel more remote and be more African. And right on the banks of the mighty Zambezi River, which is in awe every time I see it. It's just this amazing experience. Can you share the different styles of accommodation the lodge offers our guests today, Roddy?
Sure. So Victoria Falls River Lodge was originally built about 10 years ago. And the original part of the lodge was actually built on the mainland, where I am sitting right now. And there was two sets of offerings. So basically we got our luxury tents and our luxury family tents. And the family tents can sleep up to families of 5. They're actually, as we speak, all being completely regutted and redone, taking a bit of this time while we're shut down and, as I said, refurbishing and then adding on new bathrooms for the kids. So the units themselves are going to be much more larger, a lot more comfortable. So those are the two offerings basically on the mainland, and it's canvas under thatch roof. So glamping is definitely the word. And as you can probably see behind me, we've got a few elephants that have just decided to join us, wandering past. And then actually behind the elephants and over there on the island, those are where you talked about the island suites, our treehouse suites. So we've got 4 of those, and those were very modern, very something that Victoria Falls has not seen. All about 3-4 meters up in the air, overhanging the river. And then we also lastly built our 2-star beds. Again, those are very similar to the treehouse suites, much more larger, with an upstairs room where you can basically sleep underneath the African sky in the drier months.
Well, those elephants came through on cue, didn't they? That was well done.
Perfect.
But that's a daily experience up there. I remember when I was last up there, the elephants kept on coming through, and it's just to see the mighty elephants against the Zambezi River is just phenomenal. And to see them swimming and showering or bathing or whatever you want to call it, it's just an amazing experience. Roddy, everyone asks me about food when I travel, and particularly to Africa. And are there any special cuisines that your lodge chefs follow? Are there any special places where our guests dine during the day or night from the lodge?
So a lot of our menus, because we cater for a very international market, certainly a lot of our menus are a lot more international. But we do have selected areas in the evenings. We try and make sure that every guest dines at a different location during their time with us. So we obviously got our main area, our main restaurant, and then we've got lots of various spots around the lodge, from our jetty site to our pool area, and to the place where I'm sitting right now, which was a newly built about a year ago. And it's not a Boma style, but it's more live traditional cuisine. It gives guests a good opportunity to try some of the local dishes, taste some of the local spices, and interact with the chef himself. So it's very nicely done. It's a buffet style, but then plated obviously to the guest. And as I said, all these different offerings are obviously very important with international guests, trying some of the local dishes and seeing what's available. Zimbabwe is not renowned for crazy food or anything. It's very much traditional. And And as I said, a lot of our dishes, obviously keeping to the palate of everyone's taste buds, we try and keep well above the expectation level.
Do you have cooking classes, or if someone was that intrigued with the cooking styles that your chefs have, would they be able to come in and spend some time in the kitchen?
It's definitely something that when we built our new, as I said now, the new restaurant area, and our executive chef has certainly put, wants to do something like that. Guests are generally quite busy with this day, and that's why at nighttime we wanted to make a bit more of an interactive cooking show, but it does give them the time to mix some of the sauces together and taste some of the spices and taste the mapani worm that everyone freaks out with, but it's, actually once they have tasted it and seasoned it with a bit of local spices, they realize it's absolutely fine. But that's what it's all about. It's try, taste, like it, not, otherwise there's always something for you.
Yeah, the local spices there are very different to what we have up here in the States, and I always bring some spices back with me because it's just makes cooking just so much more adventuresome. And speaking of adventure, Victoria Falls in people's mind conjures up adventure, and it certainly does in mine. Last time I was down there with one of my daughters, Leander, we helicoptered over the falls and swam in Devil's Pool, which I'm sure you've done many, many times. Now that is extreme, but what sort of activities are included at the lodge? So maybe describe a typical day for us for one of our guests.
Sure. So obviously we're an all-inclusive product. Now that includes obviously all your accommodation offerings and your meals and drinks and so forth. And then our activities is obviously to try and keep guests to see as much as they want, or do as little as they wish. But activities that we control and we have on site is obviously our sunset cruises and sunrise cruises. We have our very comfortable luxury pontoon boats, which are small. They only take 10 to 12 guests. So the cruises are very custom, and it's a nice time to get out into the river. We go away from all the masses. We go right upstream, because in the afternoons, the sunset cruises are very common. But because I said of our size boats, we get away from them, and lovely opportunity to be on the river, enjoy the bird life, enjoy the animal. In the evenings, we'll certainly come down to drink. So you can do those as many times as you want in the morning and evening. And then also we do our own game drives. As I mentioned earlier, we're in the national park. There's no borders, there's no fences. Animals are free to roam as they wish, as Mother Nature intended. So again, one has an opportunity to go out in the early mornings or in the afternoons on game drives. And both of those sets of activities range between 2 to 3 hours, depending on obviously what you're seeing along the way. But you asked me earlier, a typical day on a guest chair, I would say that in the drives in the morning are very common. It's an earlier start, 5, 6 in the morning. You go with your guide on our vehicles, and I say go out for a nice drive. The reason why I say mornings is better is because it's usually a bit cooler. The game's a lot more active during that time. So nice time to go out, come back, have a nice leisurely breakfast. And then at times, obviously, you are here to see Victoria Falls. So that is the whole point. And also included are all the trips into town and seeing Victoria Falls. So that's, again, a guided tour from the lodge. Off you go to town. And it's about a 2-3 hour walking tour of seeing Victoria Falls. Return, afternoon at leisure, lunch. And then in the evenings, as I said, sunset cruises are so common. Get onto the river, gin and tonic in hand. And obviously reflect on the day of what you've seen from the river, the games, the Victoria Falls itself, and then of course nothing wrong with a nice gin and tonic in hand to help wash that all down.
Yeah, gin and tonics go well with anything in Africa. The you mentioned the game drives and also the sunset cruises. What type of animals would be expected to be seen, or do you see on a regular basis?
So we in the national park here, we have everything except for the rhino. As you saw earlier, elephants around the lodge are very common. They love the pools, they love the ponds around the lodge. So elephants is almost, especially in the drier months, is pretty much a guaranteed, and especially crossing between us and the mainland and behind me the island. Swimming across there, it's a little 3-minute swim for them at times. So as I said, elephants are very common, and we've got a lot of buck, and we're actually saying that we had lions around the lodge today at nighttime. So lions, all the cats are there, leopard sightings are quite common. And then all your buck, from your buffalo to your antelope to your waterbuck to your impalas to your warthogs and so forth. So everything's there, as I said, except unfortunately for the rhino.
Okay. I know you mentioned taking a walking tour of the falls. you obviously can see the falls from both Zimbabwe and Zambia, and you get different perspectives because one you're looking over the falls and one you're looking at the falls. Can you elaborate on the different aspects as you see it, Roddy, of going to either side? Because most of our clients do go both sides.
Sure. I mean, if you, as I said, the main draw card to coming to us at River Lodge will be coming to see Victoria Falls. It is obviously the most majestic sighting there is. And being biased, obviously Zimbabwe is the better side, as everyone knows. But from both sides, you get totally two different angles of the falls. Obviously, on the Zimbabwean side, you have got a lot more of the viewpoints. There's about 25 viewpoints. I mean, you stretch a good, it's almost, you do a good 1-2 kilometers walking between starting, going around, and walking back. And you get to see a lot of the Devil's Cataract, which is where the water is at high water, is the most water that pours over the falls, and then going around to all the different sightings, to the Horseshoe Falls, to Rainbow Falls. And then, as you said, going across to Zambia, again, walking over the bridge that was built in 1904 is quite a historic monument there, and then entering into the Zambian side. Again, it's you know, looking, Zambian side is almost slightly closer to the cataract because of a certain angle that you look at. Totally beautiful, totally nice, but in the drier months, obviously, Zimbabwean have water flowing on it. Zambian does slightly dry up a bit, but again, from there you get to see the cataract of the falls itself. So again, you get a nice perspective of when it has water and when it doesn't. Obviously, the months when you're visiting is very important. Should you wish to see the falls at its highest peak, that's obviously around May, and then seeing it at its low, which is around November. So June, July is always a perfect time of the year to see it.
Yeah, one of the most highly asked questions I get when I'm talking to clients who are traveling to the falls is, do they ever run dry and will I get wet? You know, and it's you just answered that pretty well. But coming in June, July for the best coverage of the most spray and most water, and you do get wet when you're doing that walk around on the Zimbabwean side.
Yes,
What
yes.
other activities are available in the area? I know there's a host of different things you can do, not just from the lodge, but around the area.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, so going obviously area, you've got your helicopters, and going around the bridge area, you've got, you know, there's something for adrenaline and there's something for the sedate. So if you're not doing your bungee jumping or your gorge swings, canopy tours, a lovely family activity. Coming out of town, obviously you're going to be doing the cruises and the game drives. You've got bush walks. You've got canoeing upstream, so that's not downfalls, that's upstream, a bit more sedate. There's cultural tours, traditional tours, lots of activities. As I said, something to cater for your honeymoon couple, or something for a family market or a small group. Everything's very well designed. It's always known as a bit of Africa's playground. So, as I said, there's something for everyone here.
Perhaps you can just discuss, we touched on the tree houses, and they amaze me how you've built these treehouse suites up there, and how beautiful they are and how romantic they are. Can we perhaps explain the experience just a little bit more? Because people are a little bit wary of being so remote, but they're not actually that remote.
No. It's so from the mainland, or we have our private jetty where all the guests get dropped off, and there it's a 15-minute boat ride up to the island. And the same obviously for River Lodge. But if talking about the island, you arrive by boat. It's not far away. It's literally in no man's land almost. You're on the Zimbabwean side, but between the two countries. So you're not too far out of civilization. But as you said, they're very different. You arrive. All the rooms are 3-4 meters up into the air amongst the tree line. You have these beautiful walkways meandering around the island, leading you to each of your rooms. So again, it's something very, very unique. It's perfect for honeymoon couples, perfect for small family groups if it's a family buyout. There's 6 rooms in total, family of 12, your own island, you've got your own butlers, your own little piece of Africa. No one else is, it's literally all there and all private for you. And what we did on the offerings for the island is just made them all that much superior. So as I mentioned earlier, you've got your butlers, your drinks offerings, all your food offerings are just that much more superior. So you really do feel complete on the island there.
Right. And during this time of the pandemic, there's been a lot of heartwarming stories I've heard from my friends around the world of activities that have happened to less fortunate people, and good informative stories being made. Do you have anything in your community that you could tell us about that's happened as a result of the pandemic that has helped everyone?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pandemic has affected everyone greatly in the world. Victoria Falls, because it is pretty much a tourism town, we rely 100% on the tourists in order for any of the hotels, lodges, operations, all exist because of that. So obviously when lockdown hits and the world shut down, our business went to zero, and obviously jobs went to zero as well. What the lovely thing is about this town is it's a very community-based town. No matter who you are, what business you're in, we all get together and we all just make sure that we are look after one another. As a community project that we directly do ourselves is a preschool. We our own school, we hire our own teachers, and we basically look after a lot of the education for the younger, for the national parks guides and people that look after all the fences and the gates and so forth around national parks. So we look after about 26 young pupils between the ages 3 to 6. So that's our direct one, and we're also very much involved in the anti-poaching unit. Obviously, we exist because of the game as well. So anti-poaching units have obviously become very busy this time, just during this time, because there are not a lot of vehicles around the park. Scouts don't have that much more access going around and checking and protecting the animals. So during this time, obviously our anti-poaching project was we had to really invest in that. We send vehicles out today with our own guides going and doing patrols, and just to make sure that firstly, our animals and the surrounding areas are safe and secured. And then obviously now, because of all the job losses and so forth, the town got together and we started various programs. It's all available on our website as well. And it's all basically helping from traditional families to people on site with food packs, health facilities, transport facilities, and whether it's food or cash or whatever it might be, clothing wise, literally the town got together and basically it's Feed Vic Falls. Because it's obviously affected so many people, and obviously hotels and so forth have so much extra stock or excess stock and that they can't use. So the donations have been huge. People across the world have helped donate towards it. And I said, it's just always good to get together and amongst the chaos, look after one another.
So with the school that you support, is that something that our clients can come and visit when they're down there so they can get a feeling for what it's like?
Yes, it is. It's very much on way. It's literally at the national park's gate, and it's as I said, a very nice little preschool, and it's a lovely stop in. A lot of guests come and they donate, coloring stuff. In first world countries and stationery shops, you get such amazing choices from pens and papers and cards and so forth. So it's a lovely time on the way to the tour of the falls. You stop in. The school does a little sing and dance, and they do some pictures, and you have some photos, and we've got a little soccer pitch there. So sometimes some of the younger teenagers get involved. And as I said, it's very easy, very, very light, low key. But just, a lot of people do like to pop in and see it and obviously see what we're doing, and either help towards it or simply just come and have a look and see what the project is all about.
You mentioned they could bring some coloring pencils and coloring books. Is there anything else we can let the prospective clients know that they should bring with them when they come?
It can be toys, it can be soccer balls, it can be anything that between a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, enjoy. As I said, whether it be games indoor or outdoor. Obviously, being located in National Park, it's very recreational as well. So we make sure that there's always some good activities, and naturally the local people here love their soccer and all of those other kicking games. So as I said, indoor, outdoor games, but anything a 3 to 6-year-old would love, even if it's old teddy bears or old clothing items that people might have, old soccer shoes, whatever it is. It's always going to find a suitable home.
That's great to know. Well, Roddy, I really appreciate the time you've spent with us today, and I'll let you get back to your gin and tonic in a minute. But I really appreciate the time you spent and explaining more about the lodge, more about the activities, and particularly about Victoria Falls and how Victoria Falls River Lodge is involved in the conservation and the anti-poaching, and certainly looking after the schools, which is a great project to do. So we look forward to coming down as soon as we're able to. We'll send as many clients as we can, and I look forward to coming down and hopping on the river there with you. Thanks a lot, Roddy.
Yeah. No, absolutely pleasure. Look forward to welcome everyone with lots of gin and tonics, and yeah, come and enjoy our offerings here indeed.
Okay.